Here's Lawrence O'Donnell. You know what? Last night, trying to talk about the stock market. You know what, Lawrence O'Donnell, just don't talk about the stock market like ever. You're not doing yourself, your network, any favors at all. Of course, the stock market was up yesterday, up again, killing it, rip-roaring. Today, here's Larry.
Of battle plans were not classified. There was a time when a Secretary of Defense getting caught leaking sensitive information could have, among other things, rocked the stock market and sent it into a downward spiral. But the stock market has no time to worry about an unqualified and incompetent Secretary of Defense who may or may not have stopped drinking when Donald Trump is directly destroying the stock market in bursts of economic policy dementia that have created the most uncertainty the American economy has ever seen. And I mean ever seen, because the uncertainty is based entirely on what will one person's whims be tomorrow or the next day or the next week or the next month or the next year. A year is the minimum planning horizon for economic planning and economic decisions in business or in our personal lives. And after destroying the stock market with tariffs that are actually illegal because Donald Trump has imposed them in violation of laws that control the president's use of tariffs, Donald Trump decided that now would be a good time to attack the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, who became the chairman of the Federal Reserve when Donald Trump appointed him in Donald Trump's first term. President Biden then reappointed Jerome Powell. And on Monday, in the middle of the morning trading session on Wall Street, Donald Trump decided to attack Republican chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, in a social media post that left the stock market reeling under the expectation that Donald Trump was going to fire the chair of the Federal Reserve.
Okay, he wasn't going to do that. And basically he came out and said, look, I was never going to do that. I'm going to fire the head of the Federal Reserve. I realize like it's popular to talk about. It's certainly in vogue. And a lot of folks, you know, especially hard money folks, get a little frustrated sometimes with the Federal Reserve. I'm not the only one, by the way, who gets frustrated with the Fed. I want to play for you coming up what my friend Steve Moore had to say about what Jerome Powell said recently at the Economic Club of Chicago. But here's the reality. One, Lawrence O'Donnell doesn't need to be talking about the stock market. You know what? Let that be for your friends over at CNBC. Okay, CNBC can maybe do that with a little bit more authority, if you would. For Lawrence to be saying that, it's just sort of funny, given that, you know, he's like, oh, he's tanking the market. And you look at the market today. I mean, we are up what, 2.5% right now on the S&P. Just a tremendous day, 2.6%. I stand corrected on the Nasdaq, 1.73% on the S&P. You get a Dow that's up 1%. So this is on the heels of yesterday's phenomenal performance in the stock market. I just don't think that this is going to fly. What I will tell you is that Comcast is done. Comcast doesn't want any part of this because they don't need these blowhards, frankly, for lack of a better term, going on and on saying things that they know to be untrue and trying to spin for an audience that doesn't exist, right? The audience doesn't exist. Leslie, great to see you. My friend Leslie Crimble here back in the chat. Wow, thank you for the generosity. Yes, 700,000. We are at 700,000, Leslie. Leslie has been here, I got to tell you, from when we were at like 100. And I would do these little shows because I just started and, you know, look, we've been doing it maybe 2 years now, every single day live. Leslie has been here from the beginning when we were like 100 people and, you know, I was just sort of talking to myself here, but that's I was talking to Leslie. I was talking to all of you guys. But I think that this is a testament, if you would, and it's a great day to actually be leading with this when we just hit over 700,000 subs. This is no marketing. This is no like outside push. This is just you and me. And I think that there's a hunger and a need for authenticity in news and news opinion. Granted, I always have an opinion, but at least you're going to hear it all from me here, and you're going to at least see these different sides. And you know what? If I didn't have an opinion, then why bother listening? I think it's actually important to have an opinion and to tell people where your opinion is. But also, you can't just actually print lies. And the problem that you're seeing at some of these liberal networks, and frankly, at some of these networks that consider themselves, journalists with capital J's, is that they do print lies. Look at what's going on at CBS, for example, and the executive producer is resigning from 60 Minutes because he feels that he can't really be authentic. And I say, okay, fine. You know what? Fine. Go out and do your own thing, and more power to you. At least you actually are resigning, unlike Georgie Poo over at ABC News, Stephanopoulos, who's staying in the seat even though he's furious that his bosses paid $16 million to settle that slander suit, right? The libel suit, when he called Trump some really horrible things. Now, President of the United States, live on air, even though he knew he shouldn't, even though he knew it was wrong, and even though his producers had warned him. So at CBS, yes, they buttoned up Kamala Harris's answer so she sounded like an intelligent person, which I guarantee you was probably not that easy to do. Kudos to the editor and to the producer that had to deal with that sound. And somehow they think that that's totally normal. No, you know what? It's not normal, because you wouldn't have offered the same for one President Trump. You wouldn't have afforded him the same opportunity. So you definitely had your biases, and you pretended you didn't. And I guess that's where I'm offended by it all. Like when you people try and pretend that you're actually the bomb, and you're so not, because you are incredibly biased in everything you're doing. That is a huge problem. I want to get to the stock market because, we're just talking about Lawrence O'Donnell complaining about the stock market not doing well, and it's actually having a record day here. But before I do, you know what else has been doing really well? And I know it's lower today. Again, I actually bought a teeny bit today because when gold goes lower and I'm a long-term holder, I find it to be one of those things that helps me sleep at night and even out my portfolio, because when things get rocky, and look, they've been rocky the last couple of weeks, I'm not going to deny that, that's when you want to make sure that you do have that diversified portfolio. And so hopefully you've put it in place before the what hits the fan, so to speak. So Trish Loves Gold. Go check them out. You can get up to $15,000 in free silver. We love our sponsors here on the show. You can text Trish to 65532. Call them at 1-844-495-1115. Our sponsors are key to everything. They help make this all possible. And you guys are key to everything. Leslie, again, thank you for the generosity.